Hello guys and gals, and welcome. So I wanted to go over some of my builds that I've been creating, and I know I've been kind of lazy on this, and for those of you who've been following me on the live streams, you've already, gone over most of this. I will have a build planner link in the description if you guys want to copy my build or play around with it or change it to whatever you want. And that will be in the description of the video for you so that you can look at it. Now, this particular Necromancer used to be my my Minion Mancer, and ever since I obtained this lovely beast right here, the Grandfather, I wanted to build a character around this particular item. I wanted to make a character with the specific purposes of like trying to take advantage of the Grandfather to its utmost. Now, I've already done a Bone Spear Necromancer. I did a Bone Spear Necromancer like back in season 0 when they were absolutely broken. And this was before I knew they were broken, and it was just an absolutely broken class. But this season I didn't want to do a Bone Spear Necromancer, but I still wanted to try and take advantage of the Grandfather's massive crit multiplier, which is pretty crazy. It basically multiplies all your damage by 2 when you crit. And so what I designed was I designed a Bone Spirit Necromancer, and he's turned out pretty promising. First off, let's go over his equipment, and we'll talk about that. Now, granted, I do have a Harlequin Crest and a Grandfather. Disclaimer, the build would work without it. Obviously, the Harlequin Crest and the Grandfather are not necessary for the build. However, if you do not have a Harlequin Crest, which most people don't, the other options would be things like Godslayers, which I do believe that Godslayer's Crown would work surprisingly well on this build. I do have one right here. Mainly just simply because it gives you a pull-in, and the pull-in can be extremely effective. You also get the times 60% increased damage from that pull-in, which is really nice. So you get a nice little bonus for both of those right there. I would probably use the Harlequin Crest, though, if I had it. On top of this, we also have the Grandfather. Now, if you don't have access to the Grandfather, you can potentially utilize other aspects in this place. I would still recommend a two-hander because the entire goal of this is to get as much damage as you possibly can out of the Bone Spirit as possible. And as for the other aspect that you would use here, I would probably use Edge Masters because Edge Masters is going to give you a huge damage bump on the two-hander. And then you can swap something else to the Edge Masters, like for instance, maybe the Grasping Veins, or you could do the Serration on the amulet. And I would probably throw in an additional rapid aspect for the additional basic skill speed, and I'll explain why I would do that later. As for the rest of the equipment, I am using Blood Artisan's Curios for the free Bone Spirits that come out of the armor. So if you collect 5 blood orbs, you get a free Bone Spirit. And the free Bone Spirits do a lot of damage. They basically do the same exact damage as a regular Bone Spirit. And they also take advantage of whatever essence you have when you fire the shot, which is very nice. On top of this, I am utilizing the Grasping Veins aspect, which gives me the nice multiplier whenever I'm using that. I want to group up the monsters. That's very important. I want to group up the monsters all the time, as much as possible. I'm using Bone Storm, and the reason why I'm using Bone Storm is to take advantage of the Serration passive. I believe it's Serration anyway. No, Compound Fracture. Yes, after critically striking 10 times with Bone Skills, your Bone Skills deal 15 times increased damage for 5 seconds. So Compound Fracture requires you to hit multiple times to actually get the effect. And unfortunately, with the way that Bone Spirit works, is you don't really get a large number of hits. It's usually one big giant hit. And so it helps to have Bone Storm there so that you can constantly use that to get to the additional bonus from the Compound Fracture, which is very nice. And that allows you to stack the Compound Fracture. Otherwise, if you're not going to use Bone Storm, I'd recommend dropping Compound Fracture because you're probably not going to be able to utilize this with just Bone Spirit unless you're also utilizing, say, Bone Splinters. But I'll explain why I'm using Hemorrhage as we go along. I'm also using the movement speed bonus here. I actually kind of like this one, the Adventurers of Slaughter. It just gives you a movement speed bonus whenever you're not taking damage, so you're faster when you're not in combat, which is really nice. It's just a nice little aspect to put on. There's really not a lot else I would put here anyway. I am utilizing the Edge Masters on the amulet for the additional bonus damage. It's a 30 times multiplier, 30% times multiplier, and it does give a pretty nice bonus. If, like I said, if I didn't have a grandfather, I would put the Edge Masters on my two-hander. I also am utilizing the Loop of Exposed Flesh. Now, you may or may not need this, and I was also considering Torment instead. So the Torment Ring is another interesting option. It's basically just for essence regeneration, because when you fire Bone Spirit, it does consume all of your essence when you fire the shot immediately. So keep that in mind. So you're going to have to generate essence pretty quickly. And then on top of that, we're also using the Ossify to Essence Key passive for the additional critical strike damage on my bone skills, which, of course, Bone Spirit is a bone skill. And we're going with the plus Macabre skills on the Edge Master's Amulet, as well as I'd like to eventually get. I don't have a perfect amulet here, so do forgive me. But I would like to eventually get plus to the. I believe it's the Evulsion. I want to say it's the Evulsion passive. Either the Evulsion passive or perhaps something else. But I definitely would like at least one passive bonus. Maybe even amplified damage, I'm not sure. Really depends on what I think is going to give me the most bonus. The most bang for my buck, so to speak. Let's move on to the skills. So for the skill tree, we are using Hemorrhage, and we are grabbing the Enhanced Hemorrhage, which gives us the additional targets and additional essence created. And we're utilizing Hemorrhage with the Fortification, because it does give us a huge Fortify to spam this, which is really nice. Now, Hemorrhage has a 20% chance to create Blood Orbs, which is what we want, and we're going to be spamming Hemorrhage a lot. Moving on to the next one, we're going to grab 3 points in Unliving Energy because their maximum essence is a huge part of this build, but we're not going to grab it perfectly balanced because it doesn't do anything for our build because we're not using core skills. We're putting 1 point in Hued Flesh just so we have the ability to generate a corpse. We only really need one corpse for this build, so do keep that in mind. On top of this, we also have Bone Prison, which I put multiple points into, and the reason why is because I'm utilizing this to generate large amounts of Fortify as well as Essence, because every single time I trap the monsters, I'm getting a huge amount of essence for trapping the monsters, which basically fills up my entire bar. And as you can see here, it says if enemy is trapped by Bone Prison, gain 25 essence plus an additional 5 per enemy trapped. And what I do is I'll actually cast the Corpse Tendrils, pull them all in, and then immediately Bone Prison, which fills up my essence to the fullest, and also gives me a large amount of Fortify as well, which is pretty nice. On top of this, I'm also running 3 in Death's Embrace because close enemy reduction is very, very nice, as well as Amplified Damage, 3 in Amplified Damage because I am using Decrepify, as well as the Abhorrent Decrepify for the cooldown reduction because there is actually a 10-second cooldown, 10.6 seconds, 7 seconds on Bone Spirit, even when it's maxed out. So reducing the cooldown on this is definitely nice. I am putting, I think it's like 2 points in, or 1 point in Corpse Tendrils. I'm grabbing the Blood Orbs, not the Vulnerable. The reason why I'm grabbing the Blood Orbs is because we want as many Blood Orbs as we can get, and we don't want to sacrifice a whole lot for it. And for this exact reason, we are also putting 1 in Gruesome Mending and 3 in Transfusion, which gives us the additional chance to create more Blood Orbs, which is exactly what we need. We need more and more Blood Orbs, and more Blood Orbs we get, the better. We're also putting 3 in Serration, 3 in Compound Fracture, 3 in Evulsion, and 3 in Rapid Ossification, because this one also is every 100 essence you spend reduces the cooldown of your bone skills by 1.5 seconds. Because we have a huge amount of essence, well, when we spam Bone Spirit, we're consuming a lot of essence, which means we're reducing the cooldown of all of our skills pretty quickly. I'm also sacrificing all the minions, so I'm using Standalone and I'm using Memento Mori, so I get the sacrifice bonuses and the damage reduction. Of course, we are going with Ossified Essence because we're using Bone Skills, and we also grab the Bone Storm, the damage reduction while Bone Storm is active, as well as the critical strike chance while Bone Storm is active. This is the general build for the Paragon board. I do have the full Paragon board up, so I'm not going to go over everything, but we do grab all of the bonus essence nodes. It's very important that you grab those. We're also grabbing the Bone Graft legendary node. The Blood Begets Blood legendary node, because we are collecting blood orbs. The Bloodbath legendary node, so we get a little bit more overpower damage when our Bone Spirit does overpower and it hits really hard. On top of that, we're also grabbing Scent of Death for the additional damage reduction or the damage increase. And overall, we're doing pretty good. I'm using Territorial Glyph, the Corporeal Glyph, the Amplify Glyph, Sacrificial Glyph, and also the Undaunted Glyph. And so far, I've been having lots of fun with this guy. Let's go to the practical part of this, where I actually show you how the character works. First off, let's go to the training dummy, so I can show you kind of like how the character dishes out his damage. And let's switch to multiple training dummies. And let's switch to elites. So basically how this works is you stack up your maximum essence as high as possible. Now, I do want you to note that my rings right now do not have maximum essence on them, or they don't really have good maximum essence. If when you finish, you would want 14 at maximum essence on both your rings. And that would give you a pretty huge amount of additional damage, because every single point of maximum essence that you get is going to be huge. And we can cover the skeletal warriors real quick. I did choose the critical strike chance for the warriors. I chose the maximum essence, as you can see here, for the shadow, so sacrificing the shadows. And then I also chose the attack speed. And the reason why I went with attack speed is because the whole goal of this is to build as much essence as we can as quickly as possible, and then also, at the same time, dish out massive amounts of damage. So you can see that we're creating lots of blood orbs, and this is where things get really interesting, because the more blood orbs we have on the field of battle, the more damage that we can do. So I don't actually have to fire Bone Spirit. This is the really cool part. I can actually just run around and collect orbs, and you can see I just did 5 million damage easy to every single orb within distance. Now I can do that same thing by just simply firing the ability. And I have seen some pretty crazy crits. So far, testing this, I've seen up to 15 million in an overpower crit with the Bone Spirits. And obviously you get lots of free Bone Spirits from collecting all of the blood orbs, which is the point. Let's see if I can get my blood orbs here. Now, one thing I have done is I've focused on attack speed over other things, and the reason for that is so that I can get even more blood orbs. And let's cover the vampiric powers real quick, because I forgot to cover those. So we are utilizing Cursed Touch, which is currently inactive because I don't have the thing for it. We are using Moonrise to increase our attack speed. We're using the Ravenous Power to increase our attack speed. And we're also utilizing the Hectic ability so that we can help reset Bone Spirit. This is important because, like I said, Bone Spirit has a pretty long cooldown. And so when we fire this and we utilize our abilities, we can reset Bone Spirit pretty quickly, especially considering that we also have the reduction from the ossified essence passive. So, the rapid ossification. So if you look, it says it reduces bone skills cooldowns by 1.5 seconds for every 100 essence that you spend. Well, I have 167 essence. So when I fire off the bone skill, if that is the only skill that I have active at that particular time, it immediately resets its own cooldown. Which is absolutely great. Now, normally that's not going to be the case, so if you're utilizing Bone Storm, you have your Bone Prison up, and then you fire the ability, the other skills are going to get more of a reduction, which is definitely going to be nice as well. And this allows you to keep your Bone Spirit up pretty much permanently. Now, the really cool thing is that if you don't want to actually burn your essence, you can, like I said, just build the blood orbs, and you can just run around collecting the blood orbs. You can dish out pretty decent damage. All of the content works pretty well on this guy. I don't know if I've got... Sure, those are some pretty low-level ones. So I got something a little bit higher than that. little practical exam, shall we? So I can really show you how this plays. Let's just grab something not too difficult, but not too easy either. This character is not completely set up. As you can see, I don't have perfect stats on my rings. I'm still missing the passive on my amulet. My gloves could be a little bit better. I don't have my Harlequin Crashako on either. I would like to go grab that real quick. Let me go steef that from the person that's using it. Pretty sure it's on the Frost and Flame. Ah, the old Frost and Flame, the stealer of the things. You know, having a Harlequin Crashako certainly is nice. And I know I sound like the first world problems over here, but man, swapping it back and forth between all my characters is a pain in the butt. Boop, boop. Alright, are my powers activated? They are indeed. Let's just hop into one of these dungeons. What do we got? Poison, 75. Inferno. Sure, why not? Let's go. So the basic gist of the way this character works is you have kind of a rotation. A rotation that involves building up lots of fortify, building up lots of essence generation, building up lots of, orbs on the ground. The corpse tendrils helps us build lots of orbs. The obviously the hemorrhage ability also helps us build lots of orbs and essence, and the bone prison ability helps us build lots of orbs and essence. So once we have everything set up, we pull everything in, and we hit it like that. And I don't know how big of a damage number that was, but it looked kind of insane. Then we start collecting our orbs, and we get our free bone spirits flying around. Of course, it helps if you actually have something to, like, hit them with. A little bit of that. Boom. And the gameplay arc is pretty simple. You pretty much just pull everything in, generate your essence, pull them all into the circle, and then you just annihilate them. And the free bone spirits that come from other things will literally travel around just murdering stuff, which is absolutely great. You get definitely a huge bump in damage. It's definitely a burst damage character, because you don't really have a lot of damage normally when you're dishing out attacks, but you do have a really large amount of damage, individually in these bursts that just come out occasionally. As you pull everything in, too, because of the nice AoE status of how this works, you get a really large amount of additional damage, just simply because, well, everything is going to be right next to each other, because you're pulling it all in. And then, of course, when you pull it all in, you get huge additional bumps of damage to the entire pack. As you can see, I can pretty much one-shot most elites in tier, what are we in, 75? It's not really all that much of a challenge, but it's definitely at least something I can show you. I've had I've had a lot of fun building this character. It's very satisfying. It's a very satisfying character to just like play around with. As you can see here, just massive amounts of damage. That was with a DR thing up. The DR monster was standing there, and I still ended up just annihilating the entire pack. I love using the bone prison too in this particular build, just simply because it allows me to really get the most out of everything. And here we go. Here's a suppressor. Let's see if I can get this guy. As you can see, I pretty much just one-shot the suppressor. Let's get a little bit of a pull in here, build my essence back up, fire off my bone spirit, pick up some orbs. I mean, it's pretty much just rinse and repeat. The more blood orbs you get, the more extra bone spirits you get. You get of course, your additional, your normal ones, but the additional ones are like bonus candy. Like as you walk around and you collect your orbs, you get these additional ones that pop out, and they just deal massive amounts of damage in the process. It's great. I love it. Go ahead and pull them all in, and boom. Sometimes I like to use the bone prison just to pull them all in like this. It's almost like a defensive mechanic. I don't really know how to put it. Imagine you're just putting it around yourself. Like this, right? So you put it around yourself, and then you use the corpse tendrils to pull everything in, and then annihilate. It's actually kind of fun when you do it this way, because you get this... I don't even know. It's a very interesting, like, stopgap in hallways and things like this. You can use it to block the hallway, and then obviously pull everything in, annihilate... Pull everything in, annihilate. Some extra health monsters there. Oh, all that poison on the ground. Yuckies. And they're dead. Let's see if we can get to the boss real quick before we end this video. That way I can at least show you what it's like to take on a boss. It really kind of works absolutely dumb stupid. Essentially, actually I don't even know if this one has a boss, now that I think about it. I think this particular dungeon might not have a boss at all. Oh, that's unfortunate. I had to pick the one dungeon with no boss. It's pretty straightforward stuff, though. I mean, I don't really think you guys even need to see it. It's exactly as you would imagine. You do next to no damage until you fire off a Bone Spirit, and then when you fire off a Bone Spirit, you hit him for literally a massive chunk of his HP, anywhere between like 5 to 15 million damage on the boss, which of course brings down the boss by a huge percentage of whatever HP that the boss has. And then it just kind of continues from there. Like, you go around and you pick up all your blood orbs, and you might get multiple of the blood orbs running. And I think the really cool thing about it is you can set it up so that you have tons of blood orbs on the ground and then run around and pick them all up and get like 4 or maybe even 5 bone spirits firing off instantaneously, all doing anywhere between 5 to 15 million damage a pop. And obviously, you can imagine that you have 5 bone spirits hitting the target at that kind of damage output. It's going to be pretty nice. Wow, this guy is a pain in the butt. I'm not ready. A free one. Oh, good, he's dead. Do I not have capped resistances or something? What the hell's going on? That boy hit like a butt munch. I need time to do that. That's right, I see a bullet munch. Oh, I guess I had a free one there. Fire. Fire the lasers! Fire the cannon! I'm thinking of the frickin' I'm forgetting the movie where he's like, fire the laser! Austin Powers. Yeah, he always had that like German lady that was like giving out the orders. He would be like, fire the laser. And she's like, fire the laser! That's what it feels like playing this character, though. It feels like you're just firing the cannons. You just fire the cannons. That's what you do. Firing the cannons. Let's finish out this dungeon, and then once we finish this, we'll end the video here, though. I definitely wanted you to see it in action, at the very least, because a lot of people don't actually show the builds in action. So at least you guys will get to see what it's like as it's running around freaking doing, like, 5 to 15 million damage bone spirits. I need time to do that. Hit the dojink. Let's go. It's a me, Mario. Here, have one of those. Why you guys be so mean? Everybody come together. Come together. Not here. Because we'll copyright strike. Ow. Oh, we gotta return the bloodstone to the pedestal. Yeah, you got murdered. Haha.
I need time to do that.
Oh, maybe there is a boss on this one. Good, good. I'll be able to show you guys the boss.
I'm not ready yet.
Corpse. Pull him in. Shoot him down. Boom. Rebone spirits.
I'm not ready yet.
Now, it is important for this one, if you want to use the free bone spirits, that you get the one with 5. You definitely want one with 5, because if you don't have one with 5, it's not really going to be as effective.
I'm not ready yet.
You want to get that number down of the number that you have to collect as low as possible. So if you get like a 10 Blood Artisan Curios, you're going to have to re-up. You're going to have to redo it. Go get another one. Thankfully, Grigore does drop the Blood Artisan Curioses. So if you don't have one, you can always pick up one from him fairly easily. He drops them a lot. In fact, I'm sure a lot of you guys hate the fact that he drops so many of them. But yes. Wah, 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 wah.
I'm not ready yet.
Ah, so much poison.
I'm not ready yet.
Also, saying blood orbs on the ground so I can collect them. It is a little bit of an annoyance, and it's kind of like a thing that I actually don't like about the blood orbs, is that they're a little hard to see, first off. Second, they're kind of difficult to collect depending on how they spawn. So sometimes they spawn like all over the frickin' place, and I don't know. It just doesn't seem like they're all that amazing of a mechanic. Like, the mechanic could be like revised a little bit, maybe make it so that they're a little bit more magnetized, so you don't have to go around and like individually collect each one. You know, so you just walk near them and they kind of like suck towards you. I don't know. If they were a little bit more visible too, I think that would help as well. But they're not very visible, especially in the heat of battle where there's tons of monsters all over the screen and stuff. Chances of you actually seeing them are pretty hard. All right, so it looks like we do have a boss. Nice. Alright, so you build up your essence. Now what you can do is you can build up a lot of blood orbs around him real quick, which doesn't really take too much effort. So you kind of just attack for a little bit. It's not really that big of a deal. Go ahead and trigger your bone storm, build up a little barrier. And then once you get everything set up, then what you do is you run around and you pick up all of your blood orbs and then fire a nice shot at them. And as you can see, I did about half of its HP there. Let's go ahead and fire another one. And you just keep this up. I mean, it really doesn't take too much effort. You also get the free ones from the blood orbs. So it depends on how you want to do it. I like, honestly, just doing the basic attack and running around and just collecting the blood orbs and hitting them with the free bone spirits. That works pretty well. But you can also just attack, fire bone spirit, attack, fire bone spirit, attack, fire bone spirit, etc. That also works too. As you can see, I don't even have my glyphs all the way leveled up. Undaunted is not leveled up. Corporeal is not leveled up. Sacrificial is not leveled up. Amplify is not leveled up. I'm still working on it. I also have Territorial at level 1. And he's still doing pretty darn good. I imagine this one's going to be a really fun one. He's definitely a backline nuker kind of a character. And I'm just having lots of fun with the way that he works so far. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even if we're just talking about the Bone Spirit Necromancer. As always, keep watching.